And on this sunny Silverstone summer Sunday, welcome to our home. Not just Martin and I's home, but the home of the Formula One World Championship, the place where it all began, where Ferrari weren't here on the 13th of May 1950, but they've been making up for it ever since. And when they start on pole today on a track where they've taken 14 victories in the past. Here we go then, this is what we've all come to Silverstone for. The British Grand Prix, and it's lights out and away we go. Sainz gets away well, as does Lando Norris, as does Lewis Hamilton, who's already ahead of Charles Leclerc, and Max Verstappen into Abbey, takes the lead, ahead of Carlos Sainz, and at the back that's George Russell, out of this race, who's finished in the top 5 in every race this season, but he's out by the time they get the third one. Off the track there goes Charles Leclerc, and round the corner Lewis Hamilton battling away with Charles Leclerc, who's on the inside, and the red flag has now come out to make racing redundant. There's the initial content. That's where the car then is upside down onto the gravel, and then it flips and tries to right itself, and as it does so, that's by the barriers, and then it goes over the tyre barrier, and is it Gasly that makes the contact?
Basically, George was coming a little bit left, and they pincered Gasly in the middle, and it's immediately just the face of the tyre contact. It's just flipped the car completely over.
Stefano Domenicali in conversation with Joe Granu, making sure he's okay. Sebastian Vettel goes into the back of Alex Albon. Alex Albon, I think, then makes contact with Esteban Ocon.
Incredible, we only lost, at the moment, 3 cars in this incident.
So here is Alex Albon now, and he gets the tap, nothing he could do, sent into the barriers, just avoids Daniel Ricciardo, and I think then makes contact with Esteban Ocon. What's going to happen second time around here at Silverstone? British Grand Prix, lights out, away we go. They weren't held for long. Sainz comes over to cover off Verstappen, almost pushing him into the pit wall, but he might have to yield. This does make the move around the outside and stays ahead. Sergio Perez now challenging down the inside. Hamilton's dropped a place or 2, and he's now tangling with Charles Leclerc. It's Carlos Sainz out in front, down the inside. Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez make contact. Sainz from Perez, then go from Verstappen, then Leclerc, then comes Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton, and Lando Norris now going wheel to wheel with the Mercedes. Sainz into Brooklyn as he goes. Leclerc tries to go around the outside of Max Verstappen, and goes off the track in the process.
That's the second time they've made contact in this lap alone. A much better restart then for Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton, unlucky that he got put back into his original grid slot, and he's side by side through Woodcote.
He was side by side. He's now behind Lando Norris. As in the cops we go, there is damage to that front wing of Sergio Perez Red Bull, and quite severe damage too. And now towards Maggots and Beckett's we go. Hamilton is behind Lando Norris in 6th, then comes Gasly, Alonso, Latifi and Tsunoda. Perez leading Norris, leading Hamilton around Brooklyn and into Luffield. Now is Hamilton poised to strike back at Lando Norris.
Then they need to clear Perez. Perez will be slow with his damaged front wing. He'll lose a good dozen seconds if they have to change that. And you can see on the right-hand side, that then affects the airflow all the way down the side of the car. And so it doesn't energize the under tray as well. So Perez will be losing downforce all round, particularly at the front.
He's all okay on the top. So we lost the right side end plate, front end plate, missing 5 points.
Perez now comes into the pit. That frees up the McLaren and the Mercedes.
He has to come in and get that fixed.
Right, DRS for Hamilton, not for Norris this time around. Hamilton gaining on Norris, and as we get into Brooklands by the BRDC clubhouse, you can hear the cheers as one British driver overtakes another, and Hamilton's up to 4. Sergio Perez with the fastest lap. Trouble for Sergio Perez, he's 36 seconds behind your race leader Carlos Sainz at the moment, but after a change of tyres onto the mediums, going very nicely indeed. He got damage on his front wing after tangling with Charles Leclerc. I think Leclerc backed him not once but twice. Ooh! Carlos Sainz going off onto the grass there. I thought he recovered it, but he hadn't recovered it sufficiently. Verstappen sees the error by Carlos Sainz and swoops into the lead at the start of the Hangar Straight. Verstappen, the championship leader, now ahead of Carlos Sainz. And the Ferrari, whether it was caught out by an errant gust of wind here at Silverstone or not, well, it was vulnerable at the start of that straight, and Sainz could do nothing to keep Verstappen at bay. Let's just see what happened with the two AlphaTauris here. Whoa, Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly rather tripping over each other.
Synchronised spinning.
And not to any great effect. Tsunoda on the inside of Pierre Gasly, and both AlphaTauris having the misfortune there, tumbling down the order.
Now Ferrari need to either say stop fighting and get off after Verstappen as fast as you can, or swap them around. They need to make that decision very early on.
Because the more they leave it, the longer Max Verstappen has to build more of an advantage out in front. Verstappen's in
very
trouble.
slow.
Either he's got off the track or he's got a problem with the car, because Carlos Sainz, who 2 laps ago lost the lead to Max Verstappen, is now going to retake the lead, and the crowd absolutely loving that.
Puncture, we think puncture.
Yeah, my tyres are not lovely. I think I'm punchy or something.
And you can see a massive lock-up there as he comes into the pit lane. The cheers of the crowd for the two Ferraris, who are now running 1 and 2, and heads down to the pit lane.
It's actually quite close to the pit lane, so it's done. The tyres look inflated, but I think that's the sidewall actually doing it, keeping them, making them look inflated. A good stop, and he's away again.
Okay, Max, can confirm it's bodywork damage, loss of rear. It is not critical, so you are able to continue, but you will have a performance loss.
Last lap for Verstappen was 0.8 of a second slower than this man. Carlos Sainz, your race leader, will be back with Ted Kravitz in a few moments' time, because there's the DRS, that gap in the rear wing, opening once more for Charles Leclerc. Into Stowe they go, separated by about 4 car lengths.
Don't forget Lewis Hamilton in this. He's got the gap down to 4.8 to Charles Leclerc now. Faster last time around as well as the two Ferraris. They can't start squabbling too much. Hamilton has very much got them in his sights.
I was just about to say, the longer this goes on for Ferrari, the more it just affects the lap times by 3-4 tenths of a second, whilst they're both worried about either defending or trying to gain a lead. And Hamilton's just set a new fastest lap of the race, and he was 4 tenths of a second quicker than Carlos Sainz on lap 15. Should Ferrari want to pit Charles Leclerc now, he's pretty much in undercut territory, where he comes in, gets a fresher set of tyres, does a storming out lap, and by the time Carlos Sainz reacts, Leclerc is ahead. So after that round of pit stops.
What do I need to do? I've got my race for now. Copy. I will come back to you.
Yeah, it's nuts now. So Carlos Sainz is having to weave to keep his teammate behind him. They're going to pick.
And what Carlos Sainz wanted was the win, the victory, and to race for himself, and that's what he got from Ferrari, and it is working out beautifully for the Scuderia at the moment as they race 1-2, with Perez under pressure from Hamilton behind. Alonso keeping up 5th place ahead of Lando Norris. Verstappen getting dropped back a little bit in 7th place. Sebastian Vettel coming at him, and then Mick Schumacher and Kevin Magnussen completing the points. And through the Vale chicane we go once more, and Hamilton desperate to try and get past the Red Bull.
We've got 8 laps to go, including this one. So much can happen yet, but Leclerc now is going to play a key role as to whether Ferrari will get this victory up front, because I can't help but think if Perez and Hamilton got clear, they're going to have some great pace.
Well, absolutely. Perez is going to get DRS as well when we go through the first DRS zone on this lap. Here we go, down the Wellington Straight. Hugh Bird, his race engineer, telling him that DRS is enabled, and this is where Charles Leclerc could be quite vulnerable, not just to Perez, but to Hamilton too.
But Leclerc now will be starting to warm. Oh, he's gone wide. Leclerc's gone wide in lap field.
And Hamilton taking a different line to Perez as well, so who's got it right? Coming out of the exit, we head now down towards Cobb's Corner at about 165 miles an hour. Through goes the Ferrari, through goes the Red Bull, through goes the Mercedes.
So Perez will have a great chance down Hanger Straight into Stowe Corner. Leclerc is beginning to warm up those used hard compound tyres. If Perez can get a good release off of Beckett, he'll get the slipstream, and he's got the DRS. We saw the rear wing open. This is going to be very close into Stowe Corner.
Yeah, Perez is catching Charles Leclerc. He takes him towards the inside. Perez on the inside. Charles Leclerc gives him just enough space. Can Perez squeeze past? They're going wheel to wheel towards Vale now. Who's going to be last on the brakes? Leclerc has that inside line. Through goes Hamilton. Unbelievable stuff coming out of the final corner. Perez and Leclerc going for it. Hamilton says thank you opens up for him.
And then Perez comes up the inside, he's taking the place back, Hamilton hangs it out around the outside, he's run out of road, Leclerc's still in the hunt as well.
So Leclerc trying to get that place back from Hamilton, he has, Hamilton was forced off the track, I wonder what will be said about that, but goes through Charles Leclerc, who's got DRS to pull away from Lewis Hamilton, and arriving on the scene, well of course he is, Fernando Alonso and Lando Norris as well, 5 cars separated by about 20 metres here, Perez goes through, Hamilton gets just blocked a little bit by Leclerc, here comes Fernando Alonso down towards Cobb.
Hamilton had to get out of the throttle, he was pushed to the outside there, and Alonso then couldn't make anything of that, and off we go again, absolutely extraordinary.
And let's see what happened at the chicane.
So Perez cuts across the inside, doesn't actually take a place, loses a place. No, but he does keep the place against Leclerc, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So Perez, they might say he gained advantage by cutting the corner, because whilst he lost to Hamilton, he gained to Leclerc.
Just forcing Leclerc wide as well, and it just opened up beautifully for Lewis Hamilton.
Signs this lap, so that's their solution to it, is to stop and to cover off against an undercut, an early pit stop from the Mercedes, and it also releases Leclerc. Now we'll see what Leclerc's pace is. He needs to get on with it now after all that radio chat.
Sainz has picked up the pace a little bit. It might be that Leclerc is now not a free pit stop ahead of his teammate, but look at this. He is barely a second clear of Lewis Hamilton. The gap now, as they go through Stowe, is down to less than a second.
Leclerc pits, and Hamilton leads the Grand Prix. If Lewis has got some time in his pocket, some lap time in his pocket, he can grab himself an undercut here on both Ferraris, but he's going to have to pump in some spectacular laps.
On a set of hard tyres that is not yielding and offering much grip to those that are running it in the early stages of a stint. That aside, Lewis Hamilton now leads the British Grand Prix.
So we are right on top of the pit window from Hamilton.
Yeah, so what does that mean? Do they let Charles Leclerc pass, or as Charles Leclerc wants to know, am I expected to overtake him?
Yeah, if Lewis pitted now, he'd come out right in the middle of this battle. He'd be right there.
Carlos Sainz letting Charles Leclerc pass, and Leclerc getting the DRS as well to help him make that move very seamlessly indeed.
He's in the pits.
He is. Ted Kravitz, down to you.
Hard tyre, sorry to disappoint you all. It would have been great to put the soft tyre on and really go for it. But it's the offset. Oh no, it's a bit slow. A little bit slow. Was it the front left? The rear seemed okay, but there was a little bit of a delay at the front of the car.
Into Abbey, the two Ferraris out in front again. Daniel Ricciardo has is down towards the rear, has been lapped, and Lewis Hamilton behind him.
Yeah, and the slow pit stop, unfortunately, that's the difference. Instead of coming out amongst the Ferraris, he's ended up a reasonable chunk behind, albeit with pressure, hard compound tyres on.
It is in a 10th place at the moment, ahead of Ocon in 11th. Yeah, Gasly is in for a 5-second time penalty. I don't know about you, Jensen. I think that was a bit harsh.
Yeah, it's always tricky when there's 3 of you into turn 1, and the circuit really does narrow there.
Carlos Sainz is going for it with George Russell, and they're going to wheel around turn 13, and it's Sainz in the Ferrari that puts himself ahead of George Russell.
I think the biggest issue is that they have so much grip on the corner exit, they're not getting wheel spin.
Now here he goes, round the outside. Don't do it in a braking zone, do it round the outside. At turn 3, Lewis Hamilton has managed to clear the young AlphaTauri driver, and he's put himself up in the 7th, and he can now start to charge after Lance Stroll in the Aston Martin. This is the traditional spot for overtaking at Istanbul Park.
It seems like it's 1 a lap for Carlos Sainz. Great job by him.
There's the light whistle, turn 8, turn 9, turn 11.
Sainz goes down the inside on Sebastian Vettel, and I wonder, was there contact between the Ferrari and the Aston Martin?
Oh, a little bit of contact there. Hopefully no damage.
Okay, drive straight into me then.
Well, this should be one of the more easier overtakes he'll have to make all afternoon.
Yeah, it should be, but he's running such a big rear wing on the Mercedes, but down the outside. Should be a nice, easy move here. He can push his braking point. Look at that.
Perez seems to have that straight line speed advantage over Hamilton. Hamilton, though, close enough now to be picking up the slipstream of the Red Bull in front. And Hamilton's gaining as the wheels turn round and now goes wheel to wheel with Sergio Perez. And does he pass Sergio Perez? Under braking, he gives the Red Bull a wide berth just in case. He knows that he can make this move stick in the next few corners. He pushes Sergio Perez almost into the pit lane entry. Perez is not going to give this one up without a fight, and they are almost level pegging as they start the next lap. Hamilton's got better acceleration, and down towards turn one we go. Has Hamilton got up in the fourth place? No, he's not. Sergio Perez on the inside regains the place that he might have lost by millimetres a few hundred metres before.
Lando Norris picked it just a lap ago, and as the Red Bull guys get to work, that's perfect. Oh, that is sweet, isn't it, Crosby? That is absolutely brilliant stop.
Out of the pit lane comes Sebastian Vettel, and I just had to check myself there. He's on the slick tyre. He's put the medium compound tyre on as Bottas, the race leader, changes for the intermediate. Perez comes in for his pit stop, pushes Hamilton ahead of Sergio Perez. This is a gamble that I'm sure the driver was part of.
It's not working.
But as I was going to say, not working.
It's really not working. He's kind of a danger on the track now. Look at the difference in speed. It's massive.
Can I stay with this set until the end of the race?
Yes, you can stay until the end with this set.
I've just realised here, chaps, don't want to put the mockers on it. I just realised, let's stay with this set. We might win this, you know.
Box, 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 box.
Why?
New inset is the way to go.
I don't think it is, man.
Yeah, it's a tricky one now. I personally think he has to stay out until he seriously loses time to Max, because finishing just behind Max is much better than finishing just inside the top 10.
I'm not sure stopping now for Charles Leclerc is a good idea, but if the track dries up, Jensen, stopping in a moment might be a good idea for slick tyres. Either way, he's got to try and defend. Valtteri Bottas is on the inside. Leclerc just makes way, I think, there. Doesn't fight that. Valtteri Bottas retakes the lead of this Turkish Grand Prix. He's back out in front. Hamilton's coming in for a pit stop. Leclerc goes through, Perez goes through. I'm watching Gasly coming down the main straight now as Hamilton gets to the end of the pit lane, 80 kilometres an hour. Now he can get his foot down. Now he can get onto the racetrack and ahead then of Pierre Gasly, but down in 5th place. Don't go anywhere. This is built into a grandstand finish, and it's almost like he's going off-roading, Charles Leclerc, as he strides his way through turn 9 and 10. We're on board with Sergio Perez. Has Leclerc got any way of maintaining his position against the Red Bull of Perez? Under braking, Perez a bit later manages to squeeze past. Inside line now goes to Charles Leclerc. Perez has got the inside line for the next corner, but this will then carry on down the main straight too. As Perez exits the final corner, he's got a decent gap between himself and Charles Leclerc. Perez is up into the podium places. Leclerc will try and fight it, but he's fighting with one hand behind his back.
So Gasly at 3 behind. 3 behind.
Man, why did you give up that space?
Looks like we were going to lose position anyway.
From pole position, Valtteri Bottas can now make it to the final corner to see the checkered flag, and Bottas crosses the line to win the Turkish Grand Prix. It has been the commanding performance, and that will give him a huge cheer as he leaves Mercedes at the end of this season and heads off to Alfa Romeo. Behind him, though, Max Verstappen comes home to finish second where he started in this race, and that race will do nicely for Verstappen as he increases his championship lead over Lewis Hamilton. It's a double podium for Red Bull. Sergio Perez with some great defending against Lewis Hamilton and making the right stop at the right time, comes home to take 3rd place. It's a 6-point lead in the Drivers' Championship. Verstappen is back in front once again at the 4th change of lead in the last 6 Grand Prix. All to play for still, 6 races to go. We head to Austin next, but here in Turkey this weekend, Bottas is back and winning.